Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you all how to make some cool Urban Outfitters inspired aesthetic home decor. I love two of their products and I wanted to create them with my own personal touch. I'm thrilled with how the projects came out, so I'm really excited to show you. Let's get started with the first one. The first piece I liked is their diamond chain mirror. When I first saw it, I thought I could kind of create something myself. I'm going to use this design as a base and add my own creative spin to it. What we'll need for this is a diamond shaped mirror, or you can also do any fun shape. Then you'll need some skewers, some kind of glue, something to make a fringe. I'm using this vibrant yellow color yarn, but you could get the fringe directly from a fabric store or Amazon, or even use a gold chain. I started off by first measuring the mirror diagonally and it was about 7 inches, so I definitely wanted to make sure the fringe is over 7 inches. I was thinking about 8 to 9 because I wanted to leave some room for the knotting and attaching it to the mirror, so I ended up going with 10 inches. I checked if the length looked good by making a sample and made sure I liked it. I ran a piece of yarn over the areas where the fringe was going to go on the mirror and cut it a bit longer than the required length. This will be our base yarn. Next step is to basically cut a bunch of yarn pieces that are double that of your ideal length, and for that I'm taking a book that is about 10 inches as that would work perfectly, and it'll also make the process of cutting the yarn pieces at the same length a lot easier. I started wrapping the yarn around the book and repeated it for 50 times. After I was done, I opened the book in half and started cutting the threads. After that, we should be left with 50 pieces of yarn that are the exact same size. I then grabbed our base yarn and began attaching the small pieces to it. To do this, I basically folded the piece of yarn in half to create a little loop, put that over the base string, and then pulled the tails of the small piece through the loop and tighten everything at the top. So essentially, after folding it in half, we are creating a lark's head knot as shown here. Even after it's tightened, you can still totally move it along the main string and place it next to the previous piece of yarn. I repeated this for all 50 pieces and made sure the fringe looks complete and cohesive. This step is definitely repetitive and I would definitely suggest having your favorite show running in the background. So once we have the whole fringe ready to go, the next thing we need to do is to attach the fringe to the bottom of the mirror using hot glue. I adjusted the fringe so that there are no bulky areas. Make sure you're not overlapping the knots on top of each other because then the mirror will be uneven and sit off the wall, and you want to make sure everything is smooth on the back of your mirror. Before attaching it to the mirror though, I realized the fringe wouldn't completely fall straight down at the corners and kind of has a bend to it. So I decided to first attach some individual pieces of yarn at the corners and then blend in the fringe. Another way of doing this is after we cut the pieces of yarn to the desired length, add some hot glue to the back of your mirror and immediately start attaching the folded yarn pieces to it. Gradually cover the entire surface of the bottom of the mirror without trying to glue too much yarn at once. If you want a thicker fringe, cut another layer of yarn and attach that on top of the previous one. I repeated the same process on the other side. Once I reached the other end, I removed all the excess yarn at the corner. After the whole fringe is attached, I folded the ends of the main yarn back on and also secured them to the back of the mirror. Check on the front that there are no holes in the fringe and that they are dense enough. I had to fill in the gaps in the center with some more yarn as we did earlier. At this point, it was already looking really pretty, but it doesn't look as seamless, so one last thing to do is to cover up this gap and finish off the look. For that, I basically wanted to make a frame between the mirror and the fringe, so I'm cutting 2 skewers to size and wrap the same yarn around them. We could use the regular size towels, but after I wrapped them with yarn, their width was too thick on this mirror, and I found these wooden skewers were a perfect alternative in terms of both thickness and weight. I then went ahead and attached the wrapped skewers around the mirror just to form a frame. That way we can create a little bit of a border for the mirror and hide that raw edge. Doing this just makes the mirror look so much nicer and put together, and like there's an actual frame on the lower half of the mirror. While we are attaching that frame, I quickly wanted to mention my Instagram page. It's Have a Cup of Joe with underscores in between. If you're already on there, thank you so much. But if you haven't already, make sure to connect with me over there. That way you can share all your recreations of these DIYs with me, and also check out the little snippets I post about these DIYs. Now back onto the project. After that, to complete this off, I thought of adding just one more string of yarn above the frame, and that would really finish this off. We need to be able to hang this mirror, so I took a small piece of yarn, made a loop, and using a little bit more hot glue, stuck it in the center on the top, and this works totally fine for this mirror. But if you're doing this DIY with a heavier mirror or more fringe, you might want to use something sturdier. And the final step is to give it a haircut and trim the bottom of the yarn so that there's this crisp straight line. So what I did is I used my straightener at a low temperature to remove the wrinkles, but I didn't make it like 100% flat. You can also just use your hand steamer and steam the yarn, and you can see on the right side where it's very crimped up. So I'm trying to remove all of that prior to cutting it. And using a ruler, I went ahead and trimmed it to form a crisp diamond shape. You can also use a piece of tape and tape the fringe to the wall in any shape and then cut it. But the ruler worked perfectly fine for me because I was just going for 2 straight lines. I also measured both the sides and made sure it is looking leveled on both sides and trimmed it wherever needed. And that finishes off our mirror, you guys, and it turned out so cute in the end. I cannot believe this fun-shaped, eclectic-looking mirror only cost me around $2 to create, and I can totally see this in the stores for like $30 or $40. I really hope that you liked it as much as I did, so do let me know in the comments. Now over to the second project. So I've been eyeing this super cute trinket dish, but it is currently out of stock, and it also looks very simple to DIY, so let's give it a try. These are the supplies we're going to need for this project. I'm using Sculpey polymer clay in white color to make the dish, or if you have a small bowl or a plate that you can repurpose, feel free to do that. And for the feet, we'll use wooden beads, and to blend everything, we'll use some spackle, some acrylic colors, and some toothpicks for stamping. After you've gathered all your supplies, let's go ahead and start working on the clay. I stored the clay in the freezer the previous night, so I'm curing it with my palms, and it turned out to be incredibly easy to work with. Next, roll it out on a smooth and even surface using a rolling pin or a glass jar. I'm using printer paper on top and the bottom to prevent the clay from sticking to the surfaces. Once you roll it large enough, press and cut a round shape using a bowl or a lid or any shape you like. I'm using a 5-inch bowl, but the size will really depend on your preference. Once we have the base of the dish, we'll move on to the next step. The original piece was a bit too plain, so I wanted to add some design on it, and I came up with this easy minimalistic stamp design using toothpicks. The idea is to hold a bunch of toothpicks in a way that they form a cute pattern to imprint onto the clay. So first I'm taking 4 toothpicks and forming a diamond shape, and also because these are so thin and light and just 4 of these, it's okay to just hold them tight this way with your fingers, and you can also tape them together so that they stay in place and don't need to be adjusted all the time. So let's see how this diamond pattern looks like on the clay. I spun on randomly and didn't use any force at all, and this design looked so lovely and minimal. I then added 3 more sticks and made a triangle, and this one came out really pretty too. If it's a large scale project, I would definitely recommend taping them all together, but I was able to hold the triangle shape easily with my fingers. Next, to try on some circular shapes, I added a dowel at the center and basically aligned the toothpicks around it in a semicircular shape. The dowel is not at the same length as the toothpicks, it kind of stays inside and acts like a holder. This will create a crescent moon shaped stamp, and it looked really cool on the clay. Next, if you push the dowel down to the same height as the toothpicks, you can also get like a flower stamp. So here are some of the beautiful designs that you can make with this toothpick technique, and you can DIY your own fun stamps. So let me know in the comments what else you can make with it. I really like the triangle, the moon, and the diamond patterns, so let me know your favorite. I wanted to go with the diamond one today because the dish is kind of small and all the other designs would make it look too busy. Once I decided on the design, I cleaned up the clay piece on the edges and just went ahead and stamped away in straight lines and alternated the spacing between them. This technique is superb because you can make so many such stamps by simply adding or removing the sticks. You don't need to use any force at all and use it any way you like, and I think it would look really pretty when stamped in straight lines or as a random pattern. At the end, I went over with a toothpick and fixed up the design wherever needed. This stamping process was so easy and quite relaxing to do, honestly, and you should definitely try doing this. You can also try this technique for making coasters, jewelry, and even on vases. Once you're satisfied with the design, transfer the clay into an oven-safe bowl. Press it down lightly so it gets the shape of the dish without smudging the design. Next, we have to bake it according to the instructions specified on the clay packaging. I baked mine for about 12 minutes at 270 degrees. After the bowl has completely cooled off, and if there are any rough edges, go ahead and use a sandpaper to smooth them out. The next step is to make the feet. I'm using these split wooden beads that I got on Amazon. They're just unfinished wood you can use for craft projects around the house. I originally planned on using the full-size beads, but mine were looking super tiny compared to the size of the dish, so I opted to go with the split beads. If you have them in proper size, you can totally go ahead and use those. I then positioned the beads in a triangular shape like you see here and made sure I spaced them out evenly. I actually ended up going with 4 beads at the end, and I used super glue to stick these to the dish. Okay, so the next step is optional, but I actually wanted to fill in these gaps to make it look all cohesive and so that these feet don't look just glued on to the back. So for that, I'm going to use some spackling and some water. This material is used to fill holes in the walls anyway, so we just need to make it into a paste-like texture and apply it in all the gaps. So I went ahead and added the spackle wherever I needed to blend the gap between the bowl and the feet and also cover up tiny dents. Spackle is a new medium that is trending and being explored a lot these days, and it's a great way to make a piece look like ceramic. It's also very helpful and a great mechanism to combine or cover up materials, especially when you have to combine 2 different materials like we did in this piece. After I applied a generous amount of spackle and smoothened everything out, I removed all of the excess spackle using a popsicle stick, some water, and a wet tissue. So this is how it looks after that, all the pieces blended into one piece. So next for the paint, we can go ahead and spray paint it with this terracotta color, but this one is super dark, which I'm not too fond of for this small dish. I'm looking for something pleasant, so I pulled up my neutral color collection of acrylics, and using some orange, I wanted to mix up a light terracotta color, and I ended up using these colors. I then went ahead and did 2 coats of paint around the bowl and later on the back side. Make sure you get the paint into the stamp design as well, and I think painting the dish really enhanced the design. You can totally be creative here and maybe color only the design with a contrasting color or some gold leaf paint. This is great for storing jewelry such as rings and necklaces, keys, hair accessories, essential oils, and small items around your house. And there you have it, a lovely stamped clay bowl. I'm just so happy with how this came out and so pleased with the minimal design we made on it for a fraction of the original price. So what do you think? I want to know which of these projects is your favorite, so let me know down below whether it's the modern boho clay bowl or the really vibrant eclectic mirror. Also, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!